Hi guys, welcome to today's session. So we're carrying on with this fairly detailed drawing that we've been working on for the past, I think, 5 different lessons we've had. And we're going to be pushing through, similar to what we did last session where we were working in this area here, adding detail. We're going to be working kind of through this little section. And then I'm hoping next week will be the final session. We'll work a bit on the background up here and then just kind of pulling everything together slightly. So that's our kind of aim in terms of how far we want to push on. So I'm just going to swivel my camera down a little bit and zoom in so you've got a slightly better look at what I'm working on. It's pretty good. And then I'll just zoom, sorry, not zoom, but sharpen my focus a bit. There, so it should be pretty clear as I'm working today. Same pencil, so I'm using mechanical pencil. HB and just a little kneadable eraser. And the reference is available in the link in the description. So the video description has the reference that I'm working from, but if you want to do your own drawing, so this is a drawing interior, so inside your studio or inside your home, wherever you want to work, you can use your own reference as well, so you don't have to use the same as me, but if you'd like to work along, that's where you can get it. So you click the link in the profile to send you through to the blog, and that's got the original file. So yeah, we're just going to carry on working on this. So it's going to be mostly sort of darkening, I think, through this section. So again, I'm just working lots of small passes. It's going to be a bit of detail we're going to have to try to get into in this chair. So we've got sort of top of the chair curves down, and then wraps back in. And the sort of spindles coming up the back make up the back of the chair. Catch a little bit of light here and there, so I'm going to keep that slightly separate. But I'm sort of working through the chair at this stage. So I'm sort of focusing on that table behind, and then I'm going to work on the chair over the top of that. So yeah, I'm just kind of separating it out slightly. Looking a bit, so we talked about edges last week, so looking at kind of sharpening some of these edges up. We allow them to get pretty soft through the early stages of the drawing. But we want to look for now where things maybe are a bit sharper, or places where they are soft, they can remain soft, but generally you'll find there are places where you need to kind of push things sharper. Just working on these indents for these drawers. Draw handles as well. All these details in the table, sort of in shadow. Like I've got all the shadows, obviously, all the tables obviously in shadow. So So I'm spending a bit of time, this is called unifying, so I'm sort of unifying the shadows here together a bit more. Just doing these gradual passes, everything's sort of based around gradual passes over. So I'm fairly happy now with that, kind of the level of detail now in that table front. I want to push the tones a little bit darker below, so like the shadow underneath the table could do with being a bit darker. And that's going to start to bring me towards now working on this chair back. And again, particularly thinking about what's happening where the tones go darker behind the chair back, I can use that to sort of start to create a sense of detail. So sometimes when you work in the negative, so you're working on the what's behind the chair back and kind of just leaving stuff out, you'll start to create more detail in the chair just kind of quite quickly and inherently by doing that. So I'm just evening this tone out, trying to find where it needs to go darker. And this chair's gone a little bit smudgy as well, so again I'm working a sharper edge up to it, darkening the tones behind it. I've not really touched the chair itself, I've worked on the shapes that surround it, but the chair's becoming kind of starting to work better now. And then as we get down here in the chair, it gets a lot sharper, so where this bow back connects in, So we've now got we start to now look for laying over the sort of spindles down the back of the chair, over the sort of flat portion of the chair, the bit that we sit on. First of all, I'm just going to work a little bit on the shape of the chair underneath, and also try to give a sense of this. So there's a slight kind of reflection showing through the chair as well, sort of glossiness to it. So again, I want to work on that before working on the spindles because they're sort of over the top. So I'll start with the base of the chair and then work on them above. I'm going to need the eraser just to lift some bits and pieces of highlights. So where the seat of the chair shiny because it's obviously like a polished wood. Yes, that's a bit better. I'm just going to neaten that up, just soften it off a tiny bit more. Just want to make sure it feels nicely polished. But on the whole, that seems pretty good. And then now we can start finding these spindles. So start on that, and they're mostly silhouetted, so they're fairly reasonably straightforward to do actually, compared to some of these other forms which have a lot of kind of glossier sections to them. So we've got them in now, and we want so they cast shadows as well. So we've got all these shadows coming off from that light source for all these sections. That sort of contextualizes them. They're looking pretty good. It's a simpler version of what's there than the kind of full detail. I've not put this back panel in, but it's always good to try to kind of simplify things that, you know, would maybe make something a little bit too laborious, or be aware of the fact you can simplify. You don't always have to put everything in. And simplifying is a good skill to develop just generally, because it's good to be able to kind of condense down what you're looking at into something more sort of manageable, and not necessarily like lose anything. So you don't want it to get to a point where you're detracting by leaving something out. So I'm just going to erase, highlight off the top of this chair as well where it's catching light. That's pretty good. So yeah, we're getting there with this lower left portion. I'm just gonna again go a little bit simpler, just kind of soften off this shadow underneath the chair. So start to put a bit of a suggestion of the floorboard, so kind of planks into the floor. And I can use the sort of guidance of these other objects in the room that I've already kind of sketched in. They're giving me kind of a sense of the perspective. But yeah, something like that's pretty good for those floorboards. Getting further back, we maybe wouldn't notice them quite so much. They get closer together, obviously, up there. But we'll be working on that in the next session. What I want to carry on with today is just the rest of this table. So we've got this table in front. So again, it's going to be a case primarily of looking at crispening things up, adding some detail, looking where things need to go a lot darker. So the metal part under here could do with just pushing a bit darker. Sort of framing section. I've actually got some objects which I've missed out here. So we've got this little paint tube, so this will be kind of nice to add on this side. So I'm focusing on shadow it casts first, and I'm going to erase some light out of it. Yeah, it'd be nice to get some stuff going on. Got a paintbrush which sits across here as well. We've also got these holes, so I'll probably put some, maybe not put all, but I put some of these peg holes into the table. It's a sort of workmate type table, so some of those holes. Again, a nice sort of detail addition. We've also got some more paint tubes on this other side. Some paints probably featured in some previous videos, some of these paints. So I've got their shadows sketched out, and I'm just going to erase sort of highlights into them. And then a little bit of flushing out, getting the wrinkles into it. But as I say, I don't want to go super detailed with them, just get them sort of suggested in. Yeah, that's starting to look a bit better. Maybe some sort of streaks in the wood, sense of the kind of graininess of the wood. We've already got a bit of the shine it's got. Some of it's a bit more shiny than the rest. And again, I can work, I'm not going to work beyond this sort of up beyond this point, but I can just darken off a little bit behind it just to make it sit more pronounced. And again, we'll be working on that more next week once we get into that final. Next session, we're working on that final section. Yeah, I think for today that's about it. So we've got just a little bit left to work on behind. If I zoom out, you should hopefully see the difference. Just adjust the angle a bit. So it's starting to pull together that front section nicely, working well with the rest of the drawing up here that I've already worked on. Yeah, next week our final thing will be to try to kind of finish this section off, tie everything together. But yeah, it's definitely looking pretty good. I'll just make sure it's nice and sharp for the last look. But yeah, that's sort of the level you would want to be up to at this stage of your drawing. If you're working from a different scene, obviously things will look different, but that's the sort of level of finish that we're going for. If you're working from the same one, then try to get it up to this point when you've watched this video. But yeah, that's it for this week. As always, you can subscribe to our YouTube for videos from myself and other tutors and all sorts of other interesting bits about OCAD. And you can also click the link through to find out about signing up for loads of different courses that we offer. So yeah, that's it, and I'll see you guys soon.